Ricardo, may I have the roll call, please? May we have it?
Here.
Here.
Lynn Smith.
Here.
Jody Wilson.
Here.
Stephen Pina.
Here.
Mayor Munson.
Here.
William Pope. Here. Matthew Maggard.
Here.
Thank you. We've changed the agenda around, and we've added the citizen comments at the beginning of the agenda. Are any citizens here today that would like to have signed up or would like to speak? Ricardo?
If you signed up, let me double check the chart.
Okay, thank you. Get used to a new system, so everybody didn't have to wait all day. All right, would anyone here like to speak? No, okay. We'll go into the business items, 2.1 CRA Commercial Improvement Grant Draft. Ms. Hamilton?
Thank you. So the grant is the same grant as we reviewed last month. My question to you is, are you okay with the $20,000? Number one, are we good with that? Number two, I've had a suggestion that would we like to add to the grant that you could do 10,000 this year and 10,000 next year, or 10,000 in the first 6 months and 10,000 in the second. It is a matching grant. We are trying to help new businesses and existing businesses within the district. Is that something you would like to see us add to the program?
Yeah, I like it because I was just thinking small business owners, since it's a matching grant, a small business owner may not be able to match 20,000 up front. So if you did maybe 2 phases where they could, I wouldn't say do 5,000, you'd be approving grants all day. But, if you wanted to try to do it in 2 phases, it would enable them to have money maybe later.
From staff's perspective, I think it's a great idea. We are doing this to get people to participate. However we can get them to participate, that's what we need to do. So
So on that, if they got the 20, let's say they got $20,000 grant, and they broke it in 2 into 10, and for some reason they decided, hey, that was enough. We don't really need to do anything more, and we're not going to do anything more. Would we get the other? I mean, well, I guess they would have this matching, so they would never get it till that
That's
point.
correct.
So then, but it would come
We're
out of.
covered.
In other words, they wouldn't have it for perpetuity then.
that's
Okay.
correct. Because once they sign or they are approved, they have 6 months to do the work.
Okay.
They can come back in at the end of 6 months and ask for another 6 months. So a total of 12 months is the deadline. If you don't spend it in that 12 months,
Okay.
it's
I like
void.
that too. I think that's a good
Yeah,
way
I
of
think
doing
that's
it.
a good way, and that's a good point to kind of put a limit to it.
And how do we keep track of that?
It'll be on staff and finance to track
The-
it.
So the deadlines are on a calendar of some sort
That is
and with a
correct.
reminder and all that, so that we can send them a letter and say, hey, just a reminder, you have 30 days left to spend, the
Yes.
outstanding
When
balance on
you-
your grant.
When you approve it, I put it on and I send them the letter, then I put it on my calendar.
So I got an email from Councilman Smith Friday asking me that exact same question, not specific to CRA grants, but about leases and things like that. So I'm assuming the finance director has not seen this yet, but I asked him if Tyler, our software program, had a module that can track leases, agreements to be able to push out those deadline dates.
We talked
So-
about this too.
Yes, so we're working
We
on.
talked about it 3 years ago, too. Yeah.
So we're working on a software program, see if we have one that we can
Because
utilize.
in our discussion, if one of the city staff people leaves, like it's on my calendar, and I leave, my calendar goes with me, and there's no tracking it. So we need a centralized location for these trackers to track these items.
Mr. Chair, can I'm just going to ask a question because I'm sorry, I've been on a DRC for an HOA before, and it's a committee. There's 3 or more people on that. And that way, if somebody trips off, then there's a little bit of continuity moving forward on it. But on this grant, is there a committee or not? who looks at that and kind of says, okay, that looks good, or that, is it just solely you?
If it's a historic property, then I will go down and talk to Hunter about it. If it is just a straight-up commercial, I review it, and then you review it. I look to the CRA as that committee.
But do you think it would be better if there was an internal committee just to keep the continuity, if you're not there, or if somebody leave, whatever happens? It just, in my mind, it worked good for the HOA to have a committee rather than just a singular person. It's just a thought, you know. And that way also, if, just say I came in with a purple color, I want to paint my building purple, or these awnings are what I want, you know, and you're like, no, well, you're the bad guy. But if it's a whole committee that says, look, our committee of 3 or whatever looked at this.
Well, I will tell you
gives
that
you some insulation.
when I provide the results or the determination of the CRA, I blame it on you.
Well,
I
and you
say
know,
the CRA voted.
so the
But I do
historic,
consult with them before.
yeah, the Historic Preservation Committee, when they approve grants, because there's the residential grants too. And so I assume that Hunter is keeping track of those, because those are all in the CRA, and they are tied to this.
Right.
Sales
There's a
of a
lot of
property.
homes that I think are historic, and I go to Hunter, and it's either out of the district or it's in the district, and we'll talk about it. If I make a recommendation, I talk to him about it first and make sure that historic preservation is fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, they do
If
have
you
to,
want me to look at that, I will look at that.
I think it's a good idea. And bring Hunter in, and maybe somebody from the building department that would have a little knowledge about, if it's construction type thing, then you would have their input up front too.
Especially, I mean, before when it was just $5,000, there's not a whole lot.
Right.
You know, the project is smaller. Now that we're talking about a $40,000 project or more, yeah, I think that's, you know.
Yeah, and structural stuff, you know, the Calvin or somebody, they can help you with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, and also the other thing too is it'll come up to where we'll give a grant to somebody for a reason, for a good reason, and then somebody will have a similar thing that we don't give it to them for a good reason, but they think they're the same. So you better have the backup to say, well, this is why this committee did not allow you that. It's going to come up, I guarantee it, because it comes up.
And it has to meet, for us to provide funding, it has to meet the CRA design standards. So I have that as backup.
Right.
That it has to meet the design standards. But if we can give them additional information through the building department and through historic preservation, why not?
Well, and then I think ultimately, you're right. We make the final decision, so, I mean, it is kind of falling back on us to some extent,
At the end of
so,
the day,
yeah.
it is the CRA's decision, the board's decision. And if someone wants to disagree with me about, you know, I say you can't use purple awnings, they have every right to come here and
Right.
plead their case to you. So, but we'll look into that. So are we good with if a committee and
Phase it.
phases?
automatic reminders for expiration dates.
So with those, now this will start October 1, just so everybody is,
So, Mr. Chairman, may I move to approve?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All ayes, no nays. Thank you. Thank you. Next item is Hercules Park entrance signage review.
so, first of all, I want to publicly thank Karen Miller for her help in getting the park signage done. She has worked tirelessly helping me with the paperwork on this, so I wanted to thank her for all her help. So you have, do we have? So if you remember, and this is just a representation, if you remember back in 2017, we did entrance signage, and we looked at 4 or 5 different plans. this is the style that the CRA chose for our entrance signs. It has the Florida fieldstone on it. It has blue and green mosaic tiles, and it has the smooth
Stucco finish.
stucco finish, but it's
Stone.
stone. It's like the stone that's used here.
Some type of limestone, limestone facade it
Limestone.
said on there.
I'm sorry, I couldn't think of limestone to save my life. So it has all of those elements in it. You have in your backup, you have the construction document that lays out the sign. We had a little hiccup in the signage for the site, because by the time we did the retention pond, the sidewalk, all of this on the 54 side, we didn't have enough room to put a big sign. So we moved the big sign to 301. It backs up to the woods, the trees, I should say, that is in the park. So there's Culver's, the driveway, and then the sign will be on the 301 side. On the 54 side, we will just use the tower, the column that has the Z, and it will have Hercules on it. The Z will be on everything because that's the identifier, that's the logo. The big sign will have "Welcome to Hercules Park" on the front of it. It will not have any water. The idea behind the water is the mosaic tiles. The maintenance of the water was going to be an issue, so we instead went for the mosaic tiles.
Gail, the planters are not part of the sign,
That
right?
is correct. That planter is
Okay.
not part of the sign. That's just a representation. I just wanted you to see the fieldstone, the mosaic tiles, and in your backup, you have the actual construction plan for the sign. Any questions?
Where's it going to be located again?
So if you're driving down 301 and you turn right into Hercules Park, right before Culver's, the sign will be right there.
Okay. On 54 or 301?
301. On 54, you will enter into the park right where the retention pond is, and the column will be there. We don't have enough room on the 54 side to put a large sign, and if you look at your construction documents, it's a large sign.
Right.
The column is 14 feet high.
There's an entrance on 301 into the park?
Yes.
So where you turn off at 301 to go into Culver's, that's a shared entrance. So, yeah, so once
be able to go
once
in
construction's completed, you can, once you make that turn, you can go straight into Hercules, or you make an immediate left into Culver's.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Yeah.
that area, we had enough right-of-way, and we thought that the trees of the background of the sign would be really pretty.
Right.
Gail, there's no lights on that sign?
There will be lights.
There will be.
There will be lights.
I was looking at
The Z will be what they call pin
Backlit.
lit. So the lettering sticks out from the sign, and the back of the letters are lit. The same thing with the Z. The Z will be backlit, and it will have the colors, our logo colors on it. The pin lettering that says "Welcome to Hercules" will be in black.
I just have a couple of comments about the design. So I remember that when we started this process, one of the things that we talked about when we redesigned the logo was that Mr. Poe wanted to be sure that all the parks had signage that looked similar. Was that my recollection? Is that
Yes, ma'am.
correct? Okay. So we need to be able to take these elements
Yes.
and mix and match them so that they work for any park that we have, whether it's a small park
And
like
that's why
Mr.
we thought
Harold's or,
the column attached to the sign works perfectly because, as in Transplant Park, we'll use just the column. and we can scale that column up or down to the size of the park. In some of the parks, we may use 2 columns, smaller size, at the entrance. There's a lot of different ways that we can use that sign.
So a lot of discussion went into the historic nature of this park. And I don't see any nod to the Hercules Park function. And so I just want to be sure that we're not missing an opportunity here, because the River Rock may not work in, at Cruisin' Field, or it may not, so I guess, the question
Well,
is.
the idea is, and speaking of the history, the idea is that the Florida Fieldstone is the same stone that's used on the Women's Club, that was used the WPA used in Zephyr Park. So that's kind of the nod to the history of it. Once you enter into Hercules, we have multiple signage telling the story of Hercules, the powder company, the workers, the turpentine industry, all of that is incorporated inside of the park. The idea we looked at, doing something on the sign, but then it didn't play well to the other signs, because we wanted something that we could use in each and every park, and having something of Hercules on it, we thought just detracted from it.
Yeah, because I was thinking that if you change the materials, for example, so the flagstone might not have any relationship to that, so maybe you do, maybe it's some other kind of tree bark, or, I don't know, don't know how to,
And some of
turpentine, I
them
don't know.
will be small enough that it's just the limestone, the rough and smooth limestone that is used on City Hall, on the exterior of City Hall. So that it's just a clean sign in a small park.
Did the same company that's designing this sign, are they designing the interior signage for the park itself?
Yes.
Okay, so there's someone who's kind of overseeing the overall design. Okay,
Yes.
nothing further, Mr. Chair, thank you.
So, just to summarize kind of, the column will actually be the overall effect that we're using, because that'll be everywhere in
Yes.
one form or another.
Yes.
The unifying design.
Yes, that's.
Because that'll be everywhere.
Right.
And the larger parks will have signage alongside it, but every park will at least have the column or pillar or whatever you call
Yes.
it, with that design.
And all of them will have the new logo Z on it. And if you look at the construction document, it is below or at the top of the column. It is not sitting on top of.
Right, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, the response that we got back from having the big Z on the very top versus on the column itself was overwhelming.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, but now that you mention, I like that better. All right, would you like a motion to approve this?
Yes, the design, the funding for it is included in the park budget, so there's no additional funding that's needed. I just want to make sure that you are good with it and good with our plan. So if I can get a motion to approve the design?
I make a motion that we approve the design.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? Oh, nay.
May I ask
Motion
one
passed.
question? I'm sorry. What was the cost on that one, the big one?
Well,
They're
without the
expensive.
planter, we got a price today for the sign and the column, but there was some, if you look at the construction document, there's some issues that we want to correct, and it will change the cost of it, but
It's just roughly.
$80,000,
Thank you.
80.
They're expensive. Monument signs are expensive.
I noticed you said it was in the park budget.
We budget 150 in the park
Why the
budget.
park-
That's included in the Hercules Park
That is
plan, budget. Yeah, the other parks, yeah, I had the same reaction today.
I have funding in the CRA budget for additional park signage that now that we have a plan, we can use that funding and go ahead and get some park signage done.
All right, and then the next item is the CRA tree program draft.
So we've been working on the tree program for, let's say, a couple of months. And we've come back with a plan. I did put, or actually Ricardo put on your dais in front of you, you'll see this memo. The memo that you got in your backup was sent before I got comments from Public Works. So on the page 2, you'll see the additions that we made, where the Public Works Director or his designee and a Utilities Department representative shall review the proposed locations for the trees related to utilities and provide final approval of tree placement prior to the tree planting by the landscape contractor. We want to make sure that our Utilities Department approves the location. We don't want to break any pipes, plant a tree over something that's going to cause trouble. So we've added that to the program. Now I can give you,
This is in your CRA budget,
Yes.
these trees, okay.
yes, the CRA will pay for the tree.
So the trees, will all be in the CRA district?
That is correct. Right now, the program is just in the CRA. Hopefully, it works out really well, and it's well received by our citizens, and those outside of the district will want to participate in as well, and we can scale up this program to the entire city. And then general funds will have to provide the funding for the trees outside of the district.
Will they have choices?
They will have choices. In your backup, it shows, well, actually, in this,
But all,
there are
breakdown.
a list of the trees.
Okay,
I would
okay.
like to add, they didn't put magnolias in here, and I would really like to have magnolias as one of the selected trees. Are you okay with that?
Are they hardy? Are they a hardy, are they?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're-
in my neighborhood, a number of neighbors have magnolias in kind of the HOA right away, I guess, whatever, but yeah, they're nice.
They're really
little
pretty and they're
smell nice.
gorgeous.
They make
and
such a
Smell
mess.
nice. They are a little messy, but
They do make a mess. You would have to plant them. You can plant, there's different species of
like the
magnolias,
Draco.
but you wouldn't want to plant it under a power line.
yeah.
So we also had the IFAS office review the trees and make sure that they were good with them. We will have a landscape company provide the trees and install the trees. And the landscape company will work with the homeowner. And the biggest thing is, the landscape company will hand that homeowner his card or her card and say, if you have a problem, call me.
Wow.
So it will be, the whole idea is to create tree-lined streets. Now, if this works out really well, next year I may come back to you and say, it's working out really well, and homeowners are asking, can they have trees for their yard? We don't plant trees in people's yard, but we'll give you a tree if you want to. And that's something we'll come back to you next year after we've had a year of doing this and see how that works.
Great. And then,
1, 2, 3.
So I do need, if everybody is good with the tree program.
okay,
if
we
I
need a
can-
motion.
I do need a motion.
Do I?
I make a
Mr. Pres-
motion, I'm sorry.
Mr. President, I move that we approve business item 2.3, the CRA tree program.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you have your CRA director report?
Yes, sir. And I'm trying to give Antoine enough time so that he can do a Main Street report. The master park plan. We are coming to the end of the program. We had a staff meeting on August 13th with GAI. The city departments met with GAI to go over the final report and recommendations. They would have been here tonight to do the presentation, but we didn't think you could handle one more thing tonight. So
Thank you.
we'll do it at our next meeting. We're going to do it during, hopefully, if the budget or the agenda allows, we'll do it at the city council
All right, great.
meeting. So they will present their recommendations and the findings at the September meeting. Zephyr Park, Kimberly Horn, James Panquin, and his staff and city staff walked the park after Tropical Storm Debbie. We wanted to show them the park, you know, in its best light and some of the issues that we have with flooding. So it was I can't say it was a fun time, but it was informational. Staff is researching Tin Can tourist stories and the WPA stories to be included in the park in the final design, because that's part of the history of that park. Fifth Avenue and Oakside improvements, we are expecting the bids back on August 30th. So we'll hopefully bring that back to you at the next meeting. We'd like to get a contract signed before October 1. I'd like to encumber that money. 52243 9th Street. It is the little house that is behind the brewery. Dirt yard, it's between the brewery on 5th and the science
Church?
reading room.
Yeah.
The owner contacted the CRA and asked the CRA if we were interested in purchasing the property. We are currently in the appraisal phase. We have to have it appraised, so hopefully that will come to fruition. Will be his price will be within the appraisal, and I'll bring that back to you as well. It's just something that we are working on. The CRA would like to start doing some property acquisition within the district.
Is it a historic house or any ideas of use, or just obtain it and?
Well, I mean, from
Parking.
staff's perspective, it would make a great parking lot.
That's what I was
We
thinking,
need-
parking.
We need parking downtown. And it also connects to we can make it connect to the square. So we're looking at that.
So, I'm sorry, what's the address on that again? I'm sorry.
52243 9th Street.
Thank you.
Matt and I are, well, I shouldn't say Matt and I. The city attorney is working on the 11th Street property that the CRA owns. They are going through the quiet title process. So hopefully we'll be back to you soon with a project for 11th. And CRA staff is also working with the Historic Society. What is her name? It just went right out of my head.
Erica Freeman?
Erica?
Erica Freeman. Erica Freeman and Main Street and the Historic Preservation Board to select 5 properties within the historic district to create educational signage about the history of the building. So we'd like to start doing some signage. We've talked about it, but the CRA wants to work with them. We'll provide the funding. They provide the properties. We'll bring all of this back to you, their recommendations on properties, and get that started as well. Last but not least, I gave all of you a copy of a letter so that you are aware. Just want to make sure that you know what's going on.
Can I
Yes.
ask you questions real fast? Tin Can tourist stuff, check with Bob Winters. We used to have a photo at the chamber too that is of the Tin Can tourists that might help you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and Bob Winters, because it was right there attached to their property, he might have some good information on that. And then Councilman Smith and I may be both, I'm going to be gone the first meeting in September, and he is too. Can
we
we
may-
do the
we'll-
parks? I really want to be there.
So we'll
I'm
switch
sure.
it to the 4th.
Okay,
4th Monday.
is that okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for telling me that. And any other questions for?
Mr. Chair, I think we probably need to have a little bit of discussion about the letter that was put up on our desk, if we can,
Okay?
about the Tina and Joe's Cafe, just so we all understand what the status of it is.
So if you can review it, and Matt is here, he can answer any questions of why it had to be done this way because of the lease agreement?
So essentially, what has happened is we have a lease agreement. Tina and Joe's has not fulfilled their end of the lease agreement. We've, one with audits and two with payments. Those, neither one have occurred or been submitted to the city. So because of that, we are moving forward with, I guess, the eviction process, termination of the agreement process. Letter was sent to them with zero response. And so in front of you, you have a demand letter for them to produce what they're required to produce in the agreement. And if they choose not to, or if Joe chooses not to, then we'll continue forward with the eviction process. So as a staff, we wanted the council or the board to know that we're moving forward with this. And so if they do close down, we will be the ones to blame because we evicted them, but they didn't do what they're supposed to do per the agreement.
And you said it exactly right. When we go into an agreement with people, there's two sides to it. One is the tenant, one's the landlord. There's certain expectations on both sides of them, okay? And while I think they're a wonderful, wonderful group to have downtown, we have a fiduciary responsibility with leases and money within the CRA. So we don't really have a choice. So I think we will hear, oh, they shut us down, and that's not right. You didn't fulfill your part of the bargain. I mean, it's pretty simple.
So has there been any conversation with the owners of the business? One-on-one conversation?
I wrote, because I wanted to make sure that there was a record of what was being asked and what was being said. I wrote Joe twice. I've tried to contact him. He is not staying at the restaurant every day. He comes in and cooks and leaves. Commissioner Smith and I have talked about it, trying to talk to Joe. We are hoping that he gets the letter and provides us the back sales tax reports, and so that we can audit them and we can go forward. He has been through a tough year. He lost Tina. She was the driving force behind the restaurant. It's incredibly sad. And I have tried everything that I could during this time, but as Commissioner Smith says, at the end of the day, I have a fiduciary responsibility to the CRA, and that's where we are. I'm really hoping that we can help him, and if he is willing, I'd be more than happy to come back to the CRA and ask for an extended time, something to help him out, because we want him to keep the restaurant. We want the business there. That's why we made the agreement in the first place. But we just need to have some response.
I think there was multiple verbal conversations with him,
Yes.
Trying to do the right thing. And then the first letter, or one of I guess the last letter that went out from staff was back in July. So that was sent by mail, but also hand-delivered by code enforcement. And there's just been no effort to comply at all. The lease requires
Different
30
if
days
there was
notice
a request for consideration.
that they're in non-compliance, and we gave them more than that. And then statutes also require, 7 days right to cure. So we initiated that. We had to change the letter. It went out today. I think we didn't make it in time. We intended to send it out Friday, and it didn't make the mail run, so we sent it today.
Okay, thank you. On street report, Main Street Director's report, activity.
Thank you to the director of the CRA for allowing me to actually speak today, so I appreciate that tremendously. Hey, this is an exciting time for Main Street. We're a lot of positive things are happening in the community. Hopefully you've seen it. If not, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram for anybody in here that hasn't seen it. First off, we announced today that Fancy Flea, we have come to an agreement, and they will be coming to downtown Zephyrhills in February of next year. We have been trying or working behind the scenes with them for a while to get them downtown. I think it'll be a great event for the community, well, not festival, but event, festival for the community, whatever she says goes. And we're looking forward to it. I think it'll attract a crowd that hasn't come downtown to some of our events in the past, and so very exciting. We want to lead off with that. We are entering our busy time of the year, so there are a lot of opportunities and things that are coming up, starting off with the downtown pep rally. This will be the second year that we are partnering or working with the high school to support the 9-mile war game that will take place later in the week. We will have the wing eating contest again. We're hoping that our city manager will participate this year, or anyone who's interested in participating in the wing eating contest. We have introduced some new things. Last year we did a smash a car. It was very nerve-wracking for me as a director, so we're seeing if we're going to do it this year, but there'll be some games where they can participate. It's a free event for the community and the high school, and we're just looking forward to it. Following that, we'll go into our Halloween Howl. We actually released Halloween Howl on June 6th, which I'm very proud of. Since that time, we already have a large, over 20+ vendors to sign up, and this is just the month of August, so we're very excited about that. But there's going to be a lot of surprises, I'm sure, that are going to be in store, and some things that we'll announce over the next following weeks prior to the Halloween Howl event. After that, we will be doing the Veterans Day Parade. So we're working with a lot of local organizations and groups, the Junior ROTC and the Military Museum. We all are trying to work to make sure that we have a very well-attended and well-ran event for Veterans Day Parade. After that, we have the Christmas tree lighting, which I wanted to remind everyone, that's the CRA meeting in November, immediately following the city council meeting. Last year we made it snow. I don't know how we're going to top that this year. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to try. We're going to try to keep topping things that we've done in the past. So look forward to that. And then obviously Festival of Lights, which last year was our most visited event in the downtown district. We are going all out for that. We are currently, like I said, we released that event to the public on June 7th, and we are currently at 6 floats. We are encouraging the community to please participate. This year's theme is the gingerbread, and so we are working on some window decorating contests for some of our local merchants, but we want to have a big participation. We already have 2 high schools that are outside of Zephyrhills that have already signed up. So that's a big plus for us, because the more high schools, obviously, the more people you get to visit. And I'm sorry, but there was flyers for those, but it's okay. It's okay.
So,
Gotcha. Any questions about any of those events? I know that was a mouthful.
that is the 25th of November is the tree lighting.
That is correct.
Okay.
The 25th is for the Christmas tree lighting.
The only question I have is the 25th of November, are we going to have that council meeting? It's the Monday before Thanksgiving. Sometimes it gets canceled. So.
From our standpoint, whatever day you have that meeting on is when the
That's to
Christmas
do
tree lighting will
the
be.
thing out here, the event out here? Mm-hmm. No, I think we'd have a meeting, wouldn't we?
What's the first in December? What's the first meeting in December?
Oh, it's late.
Oh, it's too late. Yeah, you're right.
It'd be the 9th.
Or we could do it. It would be like
Has there been calls for the meeting to be canceled in November, or?
No, it's just we have a conversation every year. We always talk about the meeting in that second meeting in November and the second meeting in December.
I
So
know
just wanted
December,
to-
we always cancel that one, but
I think we should have a meeting.
doesn't have to be a long one.
They're never intended to be long.
Looks like it's 6-1.
I'm just asking to think about it. I don't care if we have the meeting or not. I don't want them to plan the event around it, and then 2 weeks before, we say, oh, we're not going to have that meeting. So if we're saying we're having the meeting, there will not be a request to cancel it. So,
Well, they can still light the tree if we don't have a meeting, can't they?
but we have this captive audience that will follow us outside.
We have such a big following at the council meetings, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, if it is for any reason changed, we can make the adjustment. So if you just keep us in mind, we'll adjust to it. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Okay. So next up is just an update on Historical Home Theater. We are in the process of figuring out when and where, or when a cleanup will start on it. There is no details about that at this time, but we are working to schedule and get some things going on the cleanup of the theater. Summer event recap, oh, I'm sorry, is there any questions about, okay. Summer recap event, I am very excited about saying this. Since March, we've had nothing but positive months as far as revenue is concerned, which is a big turnaround. We're about one event a month, but we're looking in 2025, which we are already almost completely done with the 2025 calendar. So we'll be putting things out a lot faster than we've been before, but we are doing pretty well when it comes to the events of actually operating and having them without going into the negative in no regards.
I love that
So,
because we've got to have, if people know and they're saving the date 6 months in advance or 5 months in advance, that's critical to have a good turnout.
And then the back to school bash recap, we partnered up with the local barbershop and some other local merchants, and they served over 200 children. It was a great event. It's one of the initiatives we've been doing about community engagement events. So all of our events don't necessarily be where you come down and do anything, but just enjoy our downtown area. And so far, so good. So it was a well-visited event, and we're looking forward to continue the relationship with them in the future. And then lastly, I just wanted to make some acknowledgments of some of the businesses that have opened in the district in the last 3 months, because we have had a large number of businesses open. So Healthy Vibe Studio, the Visionary Venue, Quench Vibration and Wellness Studio, Seasons of Hope, and Poppy Skin Studio have all opened in the district in the past 3 months. And I just wanted to make everyone aware of those, and we want to show as much support to the merchants as we can on top of the current merchants we have. And that is my report. Are there any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank you for doing such a great job with Main Street. You've really hit the road running, and you've done a great job since you've been on board, so thank you.
I really appreciate that, and I couldn't do anything without my board, so I just want to make sure that they're acknowledged just as much as I am.
They are too. And I'll just, go ahead.
One other question. Do you have any interns currently?
Yes, I have one intern. We did have 3. One of them is currently attending college in Vermont, and she chose them over us, and we're a little hurt about that. And then one of our other interns was recently hired in as a full-time role or a part-time role. So we do currently have one intern, Miss Gloria, and she's amazing, and we're working with the high school to get a replacement for our high school intern. And we also have had some conversations with St. Leo because we received our other intern from St. Leo. So normally, last time it was around this time when we first were introduced to those interns. But yes, we are working to get some more.
The exposés and the visits on Friday, like Friday afternoon visits, are really fun to look at on Facebook.
So we've changed a little bit. We don't just actually go out on Friday. If you're ever downtown, you'll probably see me walking around, and we try to engage with them on a consistent basis and not just doing like let me just drop in to see how you're doing.
Right.
We've been engaging, and the feedback from the merchants of downtown has been pretty favorable, where we're not just kind of coming in just saying how things are going, but we're engaging with them on a weekly basis. But the interns are big for that. That's why I love when she sits behind me. Actually, we have had a 3-question series that was started a few months ago, where we've been able to kind of go behind the scenes. Our last one, if I'm not mistaken, was the shuffleboard location, which was amazing to see how that process and that location is. So that's another avenue we went down to kind of show the insights of our merchants, but merchants, residents, and staff of the downtown district.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to work with you. And congratulations again on your chamber recognition.
Yes, I am very excited about that. And if you ever want to see the award, it is right in the office, and I love to show it off.
All right. Thank
Come check it out. Thank you.
you. Okay. Commission, do you all have any comments? Kind of, Mayor? All right, meeting adjourned.